In our pursuit against the Abyss Order, the Traveler has had several allies and one of them has become a constant in our Abyss-related adventures, Dainsleif the Bowkeeper. Every time the Abyss Order surfaces, so does the Bowkeeper, and so far, his experience and expertise in dealing with them has been instrumental. But something seems a little out of place. Isn't it weird how he seems to resurface each time the Abyss Order are involved? At what point does it stop being a coincidence and start becoming something premeditated? Were all these encounters actually planned? And if so, how far can we really trust this person? Before we dive further into this conspiracy, if you want to see more Genshin Impact content, do consider subscribing to the channel. What do we really know about Dainsleif? As far as the Traveler is concerned, Dainsleif used to be someone from Khaenri'ah who traveled for a time with their sibling. During the world quest, A Soul Set Apart, we learn from the Traveler's sibling that Dainsleif was once known as the Twilight Sword. On top of that, he was also said to be one of the royal guards of the final dynasty of Khaenri'ah 500 years ago before its collapse. According to the Traveler's sibling, he partly shares the blame for the destruction of Khaenri'ah, or rather he failed to prevent it. Much like other noble Khaenri'ah people, Dainsleif was cursed with immortality and forced to walk the continent of Tevat as punishment. According to Dainsleif himself, much of the past has been forgotten due to the curse and the effects of time, but he seems to recall many details about the surrounding regions, such as the history of Mondstadt. The only thing he seems to commonly and vividly remember is the fall of Khaenri'ah itself, but having lived for so long, it's likely he selectively chooses to remember this particular fact. Outside of these minor details, we don't really know anything else about Dainsleif or his past. He appears at seemingly the right time and disappears just as quickly. For all intents and purposes though, he is a convenient ally to have, at least so far. Now despite his seemingly coincidental appearances, to his credit, Dainsleif has consistently thwarted the efforts of the Abyss Order. He has time and again assisted the Traveler in either derailing or stopping their plans outright. In fact, even most of the dangerous artifacts that we find throughout this quest, such as the Eye of the First Field Tiller, is kept under his protection so that they do not fall into the wrong hands. The Abyss Heralds that we encounter also directly refer to him as their enemy, and so has the Traveler's sibling. So it would be safe to assume that he really is an ally when it comes to facing down the Abyss Order. However, the Traveler's sibling did bring up one important thing. They mentioned that Dainsleif failed to prevent the destruction of Khaenri'ah long ago. Now the simplest way to interpret this was that as a royal guard, he did not perform his duties in protecting the nation from the attacking Celestial forces. However, if we look into the Pale artifact set, there is a lore snippet that explains how Piero the Jester, a former Khaenri'ah royal mage, also failed in his duties. You see, according to the lore in this set, Piero had failed in preventing the last king of Khaenri'ah from tearing the Veil of Sin open. We don't know what this exactly means, but it's heavily implied that this was what led to Celestia choosing to destroy Khaenri'ah. In this context, what if Dainsleif's failure refers to the same thing, and instead of failing to defend the nation, he instead failed to prevent the maddening actions of his own king in tearing this veil open? But why am I telling you this? Well, as we've established, Dainsleif is no friend of the Abyss, but at the same time, he doesn't look too kindly upon the gods of Celestia and the Seven Archons either. So what if he and Piero share the same goals and perhaps maybe even working together? We know that they held almost similar rankings in the court of Khaenri'ah and would have been alive near the same time as both of them knew the Traveler's sibling. What if throughout all this time, Dainsleif's many appearances wasn't by coincidence or fortuitous chance, but rather he is keeping tabs on the Traveler, perhaps even at the behest of the Jester? Think about how he operates. He would appear whenever something related to the Traveler's sibling or Abyss Order was taking place, disappear midway through the quest, and then later on reappear asking a bunch of questions and then just as quickly disappear yet again. Just to play devil's advocate here, these seem to be the actions of someone who is keeping a close eye on us rather than just being random encounters. After all, the relationship we have with him really is more of that of convenient allies, but maybe it was planned to look that way. It's also not too difficult to imagine that his goals may align with that of Piero if the Fatui Harbinger is really looking to overthrow the gods of Celestia. Now what his motives really are, if he is indeed keeping tabs on us, is unclear since we know too little about him or his past. It could be likely that he knows the truth about how our sibling fell to the lies of the abyss and is actively ensuring that the traveler doesn't meet the same fate. Alternatively, he might just be actively opposing the abyss given he knows more of their destructive nature. Although it seems weird that he would go against them, considering one of the goals of the Abyss Order is to restore the people of Khaenri'ah back to their mortal forms. Whether he is trying to prevent the traveler from falling to the dark side or plotting to overthrow the gods, we can't really be sure. On the surface, he might seem to just be a lawful good persona and just wants to prevent the potential chaos the Abyss Order aims to achieve. But given his past and who he might actually know, it's difficult to clear him of all suspicion. The other really interesting thing is that, if you noticed, a lot of the collected miscellaneous videos are narrated by Dainsleif. Some of these videos are recorded in a way to make it sound that these are the personal notes of Dainsleif himself on most of the vision holders in Teyvat. In the Albedo video, he even comments that because Albedo's alchemical abilities come or originate from Khaenri'ah itself, he would personally intervene should Albedo decide to wrongly abuse this knowledge. Now, if he really does have a collection of information on all the significant figures in Teyvat, one really has to question why and what for. If his goal is just to prevent the Abyss Order from taking power, why would he keep tabs on all these characters, knowing their movements and even secrets others may not be aware of? On one hand, he could very well be just a silent guardian, ensuring others do not fall to the side of evil. But on the other hand, I do wonder if he is collecting information for a more nefarious reason. Whatever the case may be, for some reason we have gone through most of these quests fully trusting him. His charisma and altruistic nature seem to have made us lower our guard, despite not knowing anything about him. Allies against the Abyss are in short supply, and thus it's no wonder we are quick to accept him. But maybe we should just be a little wary of such a person and err on the side of caution. After all, Ida, who we helped during the Caribbean quest, turned out to be the founder of the Abyss Order itself, Clothar Elberich. Who knows what Dainsleif is really plotting, and if his assistance is just a collaboration born of convenience. Alternatively, and equally likely, he could end up being one of our most trusted allies in the fight against the Abyss. I'll leave you to decide on that. That brings the video to an end though, and if you enjoyed it, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.